Hello everybody, I'm Katie Burtwell from the Walpole Historical Commission.
And I'm Betsy Dyer from the Walpole Historical Society.
When we began to plan for Walpole 300, we decided to ask Walpole seniors their memories about living in our town. We taped the interviews, and now it's time for everyone to see them. Walpole Media will publicize the names of each person along with the dates each interview will be shown.
The history of a small town like Walpole is not just about the big mill owners and politicians like the Byrds and the Lewises and the Plimptons. It's really all about who was living there, working there, going to school, how they were part of this community and living their everyday lives. I think historians of Walpole 100 years from now will be grateful to come across these transcripts or tapes because these are part of the real Walpole history they'll be interested in. And I think you're going to enjoy these. Maybe you know the person that's being interviewed, but perhaps you just enjoy a good story, and there are lots of good stories here.
So sit back and learn about Walpole history from those who live it. This is Stories of Historic Walpole.
And I moved here when I was 15, and I am 78, so.
So what neighborhood did you move to, and why did your parents move everyone?
They moved, my parents got divorced.
Oh.
The grandparents were from Walpole, Mom and Dad are from Walpole. But I grew up down in Situate, and they got divorced, and Mom moved back here to near her parents.
What street?
And we lived on Elm Street, right on the pond. 257 Elm Street, right on the pond there.
Uh-huh.
And the captain of the hockey team, I think, lived across the street. So we used to see all the guys playing on the ice, and my brother had a dog, a basset hound, and if the dog was out when they were playing hockey, the dog always stole the hockey puck.
Yeah.
So there was some fun times.
So you grew up on Turner's Pond, so that was your skating pond.
Right.
And so did you get very good at skating because there was a skating
Yes,
club there?
we would put on our skates right at the house, and we'd skate over to the club. We had the little balls on our feet.
You must have got to know the Turner family.
We did. Yeah, Roger Turner was our landlord.
Aha.
He owned the house.
Yep. So I'm trying to, okay, 257, I'm going to have to, is that house still standing?
The house is still standing, and there's a huge big fence in front of it now. You really can't see it.
Okay, yeah. So were you learning to figure skate from the Turner family as well? Were you a good figure skater?
We tried to be.
Yeah.
He had a German friend, I think, that was wonderful at skating, and he came over to the club one day, and he took all of us, and he was picking us up and turning us around. We felt like we were professional skaters.
Wow.
But only because he was holding our hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so then what schools did you go to?
Walpole High School.
Well, okay, Walpole High School because you were 15 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had a brother that was 3 years younger and a sister that was 8 years younger, so they were all in different schools.
All right. So you played in and around Turner Pond. How is that different today? I mean, there are a lot of houses around Turner Pond now.
Right.
Were there more woods back there?
Not really. The same houses were on the left and on the right.
Oh, okay.
Now.
Okay.
I drive pick up my daughter at school at Elm Street School, so I would go right by it.
Yeah, yeah.
And my granddaughter, sorry, not my daughter.
All right, so as a teenager, what was your first job?
Worked at the A&P.
Yeah, doing what?
Cashier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I worked at Pondville Hospital as a volunteer.
Oh, so Pondville, which then became Southwood,
Right.
which is now deserted.
Right.
Oh, so what was that like?
Oh, it was wonderful. I loved it.
You were volunteering to do what?
Volunteer. We were pink girls.
Oh.
We'd fluff up people's pillows. If they needed magazines, if anybody just wanted to talk, we'd go in and say hi.
How did you get down there? That's a bit of a haul for a teenager.
Mom used to give me a ride.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she would give me a ride.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would come home in tears almost every day because it was so sad. You'd get, close to some of these people, and then the weekend would come, and all of a sudden you wouldn't see them anymore.
Did they specialize in cancer there?
They did.
Yeah.
But you really felt like you were helping people. I liked it.
Yeah. All right, so you had your first jobs at the A&P, first paying job. What were you saving up for?
Buying clothes.
And so were there places in town where you could buy clothes?
Holtz. I had a charge account at Holt's, and I would go put things on layaway.
I remember layaway.
Yep.
Yeah. So you had a charge account as a teenager? Your mother
Well, a
let you-
layaway.
Oh, you were allowed to lay things away?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Wow.
And I'd go up when I got my paycheck, and I'd put my money on my layaway, and I'd get the
Yeah.
nice wool pants that I wanted or whatever.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were at the Walpole High School.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to senior prom?
I did.
What was that like?
Wonderful.
Who'd you
Yeah.
go with?
His name, he was from Medfield. His name was Butch Bertone.
How'd you meet him?
I don't remember, just
Oh.
from friends.
Oh,
Yeah,
do you remember your dress?
I do.
What was it?
Well, I went to a couple proms. So I had a white one, I had a pink one, and I think I had a blue one. Yeah.
Ones that that someone made or you made or,
No,
or you actually
that
bought?
Mom bought,
Ah,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right. How'd you meet your husband?
Well, I worked at the A&P with a friend from high school. She happened to live next door to him. And when her boyfriend couldn't pick her up, she would call Bob next door and say, I need a ride home from work. And so if I was getting out at the same time she was, he would give me a ride home too. And then he got so he was coming to give me a ride.
So he's a
even-
Walpole boy.
He was a Walpole boy.
Living where?
South Walpole.
What street?
Schufelt Road.
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So he was picking you up, yes.
And he would come and pick me up even though she was working late and she didn't need a ride home. So that's how we
Nice.
met, yeah.
So where would you go on dates?
A lot of hockey games.
You
Boston
mean outdoor
Garden.
on the pond?
No, Boston Garden. He was older than me.
Oh, you'd go up to
He was
Boston.
quite a bit older than me.
So how'd you get by car then? He had a
Yeah,
car.
he had a car. Yeah, he was out of high school, had a car.
What restaurants do you remember in town as a teenager and young woman that you might have been
Wellington's, I think it was Wellington's drugstore in Walpole Center. Was it Wellington's?
going to? Wellington's.
I think they had a food counter and then they had,
Did they?
yeah.
Huh.
I think it was
Where,
Wellington's.
so where is it now in Walpole Center? What
Next to where the fudge place used to be, Watson's.
Really?
Watson's used to be in
Yeah.
the center of town.
next to Watson's, huh? Okay.
Not where Watson's is now, though. It was
No,
up in the
no,
center
no,
of
no,
town near
Yeah, where the
the birds, the
bar is. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you mean. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And would you ever go out on Route 1 to restaurants?
we did. Always went to the Red Wing.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right. So what do you remember about that?
He knew all the waitresses that worked at the Red Wing. And we'd go, after a hockey game, we'd go to the Red Wing, or there was another diner down further, and I can't remember the name of it.
Further towards South Walpole?
No, further towards, down Route 1.
Okay. So I heard from another person I interviewed that it's where the 99 is now. 99 restaurant.
Okay, no, this was down even further.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Another
And it was
diner.
on the right-hand, same side of the road as the Red Wing.
Okay.
It's some sort of a diner,
Yeah.
and that was open late. So after a hockey game, we would either go to the Red Wing or down there.
Okay.
Yeah. get something to eat.
So after you got married, you were living in Walpole.
South Walpole.
South Walpole.
Yep.
Oh,
right
down
in-
Sherfeld Road, or
No, right in the center of town across from the church. The big
Oh.
old white house, 1885 Washington Street, the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
old house.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
had
you
the
bought that house?
No. We had an apartment. It was not an apartments in there.
Oh.
We had an apartment. We had the whole top floor in the front.
Oh, was that nice?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So did you go to the church across the street by chance?
No,
or-
we didn't.
Oh,
We didn't. But my husband he knew the landlord that owned the house, and they were refurbishing. And we had an old bathtub with the pedals, the
Yes,
feet,
sure.
big high one with the feet.
Yeah.
So when you sat in it, you were like
Yeah,
up to here.
yeah.
And they were deciding to put a new bathtub in. So they took the old one out and they put it in the front of the house. And it was a Sunday. And Bob's friend was on the police department, and he would direct traffic from church. So he was looking towards the church, directing the traffic. Bob took off his shirt, went outside, sat in the tub, was up to here, and was going like this, like he was taking a bath.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing.
So that's an historic house, isn't it?
It is. It is. They say Washington, that George Washington slept there at one time.
Okay, it's something I'll have to look into. I do know what you mean, though. Okay, so you were in South Walpole, and were you at home with kids, or were you starting a career, or what were you doing as a
I was
young?
working at a bank in Norwood,
Oh,
and he was at Bird Machine. He worked at Bird Machine. I worked at the
Oh.
Norwood Cooperative Bank,
uh-huh.
and I worked 5 years full-time, and then I had my son. And so I went back there part-time They said, we'll take whatever hours you can give us, so I could work around him. And we had built a house down on Cedar Street.
And is that where you still live, or?
No, we sold that. In fact, we ended up getting divorced. He's on his 4th wife now, and I introduced them, and they got married in my backyard, and I was the maid of honor in their wedding.
Okay, all right.
So everybody's happy with everybody.
That's good, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so what were you involved with at the high school? Clubs or?
I think we had something called
athletics?
Pep Squad.
You were on the Pep Squad?
Yeah, I wasn't a cheerleader, but Pep Squad.
What'd you have to do for
That
Pep
was fun.
Squad?
Just get everybody going, you know.
Did you have a uniform?
I don't think we did. I don't think we
Or
did.
did you like do, I'm trying to remember what Pep Squad was when I was in high school.
Just, you know, get on the floor. The cheerleaders were out there, but you get on the floor and you try to get all the people behind you, you know, to clap and to get excited about the game.
So what did you love in high school? What subjects?
I don't know.
Oh,
I
no-
liked pretty much everything.
okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say nothing.
No. I liked pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any memorable high school teachers?
Not that I can think of.
Just wondering if you overlap with.
Yeah, because when I first moved here, I was 15, and I wasn't too happy about moving to Walpole.
Oh,
You know, away
okay.
from your friends and everything. So I was half high school.
All right, you had
junior high
moved from
school and-
Situate. Partway through high school?
Well,
Oh,
15, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And
But
so
I-
after high school, were you
lot
considering
of friends.
college, or did you go right into?
No, I went right to work.
Uh-huh,
Yeah, at the bank.
good.
Yep.
And you had kids?
And I stayed there 28 years,
Oh.
part-time,
Oh.
all part-time.
Wow.
So I was always available to be home with my son. He got on the hockey team. He learned how to skate when he was 6.
The Walpole High School hockey team?
No, they didn't have one then in Walpole.
Oh,
Yeah, I lived in Foxborough in an apartment, and he went to school in Foxborough until he got old enough to be on a hockey team, and Foxborough didn't have one either. So he went to Southeastern Regional because they had a hockey team.
wow, so he was serious about
Yeah,
it.
he was serious, yeah.
So that means you had to be serious about it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I mean, you had to drive him everywhere,
We
right?
drive him everywhere.
Yep.
But our home ice back then was in Westboro. So,
So he wasn't doing anything on ponds then? Because I've talked to a couple of people who
South
did quite a lot
Walpole,
of...
he was on skates before he turned 2. Single runner Bauer
Oh, so where
hockey
was he
skates.
skating in South Walpole? What,
The pond right next to the post office.
really? Okay, that was a nice skating
Because we
pond?
lived in the apartment, we
Yeah.
lived right up
No,
at the
no, it's
Washington
hard to
Street.
imagine now that being a nice skating pond.
Yeah.
It's a little kind of overgrown and weedy.
It is.
What about Ruckaduck Pond? What do you remember about that?
I don't remember much about that.
Is
no.
that because Bird Machine kind of dominated that area?
Probably.
You couldn't get in there
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah,
Because that looks like it could be a good skating
yeah.
pond.
We never went there, we just always went right down the street by the
Yeah.
post office.
Yeah. All right, you have some notes. Are the things that I'm failing to ask you that you...
My grandfather was the town engineer in Walpole.
Oh, what is his name?
My Fred Libby,
And
my,
so what kind of
my
projects?
dad's father.
Yeah.
And he lived on Washington Street, which is now the big White House, which is now the food pantry.
Yes.
He lived in there.
Really?
And we would come up from Situate. We'd come weekends. Some weekends we'd stay with the Plunketts, my mother's family. Some weekends we'd stay with my father's family. And when we were with Dad's family, with the Libbys, we were on Washington Street.
All right, approximately what years, what decades was he town engineer? Because I want to ask you what projects he may have been involved with.
That I
Anything
don't know. I mean, I
interesting?
have a couple of pictures of him
Well,
on it.
approximately, I mean, it's like...
Building roads.
So it's building roads.
Building
making-
roads. Because when I worked at the
This is your
AMP
grandfather. So
My
it'd be like
grandfather.
the 1910s and 20s that he was building roads?
my dad was born in 1919.
Okay.
And my mom was born in 1920, and they went to Walpole High School, so it was probably all
Okay.
around then.
So he's involved with building roads, any bridges or any other
No,
municipal projects?
I don't know, not that I know of. I don't
Where
know.
was his, so where was his office?
In the town hall.
In the town hall?
In the town hall in Walpole.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you used to
Because
visit in town
I can remember
hall?
going to visit him.
What do you remember
town
about
hall.
town hall?
Just how big it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, and it's still such an interesting
is,
place. I
yeah.
wish they would do something with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he had in the back of the house there was a huge maze, and it was very well taken care of.
In the back of his house on Washington
On
Street?
Washington Street. It was the lawn and everything was manicured. It was beautiful. And as kids, we used to go out there and play all the time.
So
and
he
we'd go
deliberately
in.
mowed it that
Yes,
way?
yes, and it was wonderful. We'd
Wow.
get lost in there sometimes.
Wow.
And then next, the pumping station was right across the driveway. And anytime all my cousins and any of us were there for a weekend, we would go over to the pumping station. As soon as we finished dinner, we'd go over to the pumping station and see a man called Stanley. And he was like an uncle to us. He was wonderful. And he ran the whole pumping station. And he would take us around, and we'd walk along the grates, and he'd show us how all these machines worked.
Oh,
And
cool.
it was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And that was when I
It's-
was, 10, 11, 12, up
Yeah.
through high school.
Yeah. So your grandfather then, did he grow up in Walpole, as far as you know?
Probably, as far as I know.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
just wondering
I
how
don't
how
know.
far back does your family go in Walpole? Do you happen
I don't know.
to know?
Yeah. I don't really know
What
back
was his
further than-
background that he was town engineer? In those days, you wouldn't necessarily be going to like MIT or anything.
Right.
Sometimes
That-
it's just
yeah.
like you were very good at whatever it was.
Right.
Um,
We didn't actually know a lot about before that, because it was just, being kids, these are your grandparents, and you come to visit all the time, and you had fun. And
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. All right.
And my grandmother died when I was 8, and my grandfather was in the process of building a house in Hopedale, I think it was. And she got sick, and she passed away. And he would go to the cemetery in Hopedale and put flowers on her grave. And he met this woman who was at another grave right by him, putting flowers on her husband's grave.
Yeah.
And they saw each other for years.
Oh.
They ended up getting married.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And my cousin my cousin in where is she? New Hampshire. She and my sister and I meet a couple times every summer, and we meet at the cemetery, and we bring subs and sandwiches, and this is where we sit by the water fountain
Yeah.
where they met,
Yeah.
and we
nice. Yeah.
sit for a couple hours and catch up.
All right. Now, what do you remember about movie theaters in town? Because we did have one.
There was
over
one
at
in East Walpole,
yeah.
I think.
Did you used to go to that one?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were there any restaurants in East Walpole, or
I
did you
don't
have to pretty much go out on
remember
Route 1?
being restaurants in East Walpole when I was
Okay.
a kid. Yeah.
So did you have your own car at some point, or did you have to just rely on boyfriends' cars for your parents?
Yeah, I had my own car shortly after I got my license.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You bought a car?
My dad gave me one.
So you were
An old one.
You
My
were
dad
16
gave me-
years old.
or 16.
And you got a car.
Yeah, my
What
dad
kind
gave
of
me a car. It was a black Chevy. It was old. I can't remember how old it was. It was nothing special,
I know, but your father gave it to you.
but he
Wow.
gave it to me. Yeah.
Wow.
And I had it so I could go to work after I graduated. I could go to work
Good. Wow.
at the bank, and
Yeah.
I would drive to the bank in that
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have siblings, or were you?
A brother and a sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did they stay in the Walpole area?
They did. Yeah.
So they're still
They did.
around, or are they?
My brother lived on Diamond Street in Walpole,
Uh-huh.
but he passed away 3 days after his 34th birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, aneurysm.
Oh.
But my sister just sold her house in Walpole, and she and I had a business gift shop in Walpole,
Which gift shop?
New England Crafters.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
we had
your-
that for 27
That's
years.
your gift shop.
That was our gift
Oh,
shop.
how'd you get the idea for that?
My boyfriend at the time and her
Because
husband.
it was, sorry, it was over near the Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
talking about that,
That's-
yes.
yep.
And then it's moved.
No, we left,
Oh, you left.
and now Walpole Pharmacy is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
But one of our crafters opened up a store in
That-
the center of town,
Okay. So how
and
did
now
you
she's up by Cumberland Farms.
Yes,
on
yes,
1A.
yes. How'd you get the idea for that store?
My brother-in-law had been to a craft show somewhere, or been to not a craft show, but he went somewhere and he saw these booths in a store with each booth had a different people,
different artisans.
different
yeah.
artisans,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And he was telling my boyfriend about it, and they got together and said, the girls should do something like this sometime. So my
So you
sister
found
and
that
I,
space.
my sister and I found the space. They helped with building the booths and everything. He had a bunch of brothers, and
Because
I
it
had
was really
friends.
nicely laid out.
Yeah,
So you yourself must be into crafts.
yeah. My
What do
sister
you
and I
do?
both made things. I used to paint on slates. We used to make the dolls that
Yes?
with the face that
Yeah.
no face and just stand in a corner.
So what are the pros and cons of owning a business like that? I can imagine that there's a lot of fun in it, and there's a lot of like, oh
It's
my
a lot of
goodness.
fun. It's a lot of hard work, but there was never one single day when either one of us said, I don't want to go to work. Not
Oh.
one day in 27 years.
Oh, wow.
So we enjoyed it.
Wow. I'm sure you've waited on me in that store because I've certainly been into it. So no, not a problem with, because you're essentially renting out spaces to
Renting
crafters.
spaces. Yep, yep.
And then you don't have to worry about setting up their little area. They've
They
got
set
a
them.
booth
They
to-
set them up themselves.
Wow.
Yep.
So I'm sure you didn't invent that model, but were you relatively new to the area doing that? I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't think there'd been anything else
yeah, I don't
close
think so.
by
I don't think so either.
like that.
Yeah.
Now you have the mill down in Norwood.
Yes.
They have little rooms, and they kind of do the same thing.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do. I don't think it's quite the same thing as what
No,
you were
it's not.
doing, though.
Yeah,
More like antiques.
antiques and older things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So then you decided to sell that and
We
retire.
decided to. I got sick,
Oh.
so we had to. I was in the hospital for 9 days, and our lease was up. This was in December. Our lease was up in January, so we had to make a decision: are we going to keep going, or are we going to?
Yeah.
And my sister was moving to Florida. Was going to Florida for 4 months,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so we decided we better just pack it in because there was no way I could come home from the hospital and work
Yeah.
9 hours a day and
Yeah.
unpack boxes and all that. So,
Oh gosh.
was a
yeah,
quick thing
unpacking
we had to-
boxes and stuff.
Yeah,
Oh goodness.
yeah.
Yeah.
but 27 years was good.
Yeah. Very good. No, that was a
Yeah.
nice business.
Yeah,
It's I'm meeting some interesting people who had really nice businesses in town.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. They sold their house in Walpole. They have. They're in an over 55 community in Florida, and they're in an over 55 community in Plymouth. So they go back and forth.
All right. What else is on your list for our final 5
Grandparents,
minutes?
grandparents in on my mother's side.
Yes.
Jeff Plunkett, he was the treasurer of Fales Machine.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
And I can remember going in there, and there was a huge staircase that kind of went right up straight,
Yeah.
and going up to visit him in his office. And as he got older, he was having a hard time doing the stairs. They put in a chair for him, an electric chair, so he could still go to work every day.
So I was in there when they were making little retail shops in there, but certainly never when it was an actual machine shop.
Yeah.
What was it like? I mean,
It was old and dusty, and
Yeah.
a lot of little offices. And
how many people would be working in there?
I don't know. I don't remember. I
So-
just remember going up those long staircase.
Yeah. So he was the treasurer.
He was the treasurer.
So he must go back in Walpole some years then, huh? Like his parent, he grew up in Walpole. Do you think?
He came from somewhere to Ellis Island,
Oh.
I think in New York or something.
yeah, Ellis, sure.
My great grandmother was from New York.
Yeah. Came from what country?
See, they didn't talk about things back then like
Yeah.
that. It just kind of,
Yeah.
and us being kids, we were just kids, and it didn't ask.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he became treasurer, but he
Became
must
treasurer.
have moved up the ranks to treasurer.
Right.
Did he start off as a machinist or start off as an accountant?
Not that
or-
I don't think so. Not
Oh.
that I know of. I
So
don't.
he-
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know. He was in the Merchant Marines. I know that. And they had a house, I believe, on Lewis Avenue, and then
Really?
he.
What number Lewis Avenue?
I don't know, because I never saw. I was never there. But in 1938, he bought a big old farm on Cedar Street, Windfall Farm, and after the hurricane in 1938.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything?
The Moses Smith house is his house.
Anything significant about the hurricane happened, and then what? Real estate was available or something? What happened?
I don't know. My grandmother always said that he came home one day and he said, "Sal, you've got to come and see what I bought."
Wow.
And he took me. He took her down there, and there was this house with no roof on it.
Oh, because the hurricane. had taken-
hurricane.
Oh, so he got it at a bargain, maybe.
I guess, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's
It's
good.
almost 100 acres of land.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's interesting.
And I used to have horses in his barn, And
You did?
I did.
So
when I was married, we had horses.
Oh, really?
And I'd put them in his barn.
So
And
you would
I
ride
went up
English or Western style?
Western.
Aha.
I went up every day from South Walpole and went and fed the horses before I went to work.
How many horses did you have?
3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He had
Wow.
one, I had one, and his cousin had one.
Ah. Wow. All right, you've got a complicated, intricate family.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
All right, tell me 3 minutes worth of something else.
Oh
before we
my,
close,
3 minutes
if
worth
you
of
can.
something else. What else have we got
What
here?
have I missed asking her?
I know.
Okay.
Oh, my
Yes.
my grandfather Libby,
Yes.
after my grandmother passed away, he married again. And her husband, she married Charlie Kemp.
Oh,
Charlie Kemp was a big shot at the Aggie because this Kemp Hall is named after him. Now, I don't know too much about him. He was just Uncle Charlie to us and Aunt Bee. But he had to do with
so
Kemp
both
Hall.
branches of your family were doing all kinds of important,
All kinds of
different,
things
interesting
in
things
Walpole,
in town.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This was really interesting. Thank you.
It was fun.
This is great.